Today's episode has been brought to you by Schedulicity.
And it is an extra special episode because it was created from real live questions from you, connected yoga teachers. Amanda McKinney, who is a marketing coach for yoga teachers, joined me for one of our Monday live Q&A calls, and we combined that with a podcast interview. She was brave to dive in and say yes when I told her I thought it would be something fun and new, and I hadn't done this before. Amanda has a lot of great information to share on how and why to niche down so that you can effectively market your yoga offering. I've gotten to know Amanda over the past few months because she reached out and said, "Hey, we have similar businesses. Let's collaborate." So I am super excited to announce that we have a plan to co-create something for you, dear listener, that I am going to share more about at the end of this episode today. In short, we're doing a free 3-day challenge in our Facebook group. If you're not already a member of our Facebook group, go to theconnectedyogateacher.com and look for the join button. Then in May, we're going to open up an opportunity to join a group coaching program for yoga teachers with both Amanda and I at the same time. Welcome to episode 112 of the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Crow. I'm a mother of 3, a yoga teacher, and a trainer and consultant working for yoga teachers. This podcast was created for you so that you can connect to information and inspiration every week and feel supported as you navigate the jungles of yoga entrepreneurship. Have you checked out our show notes yet? This one, including all of the links, is at theconnectedyogateacher.com/112. Before we meet Amanda, let's hear our hot tip of the week from Allison at Schedulicity.
Hello, Connected Yoga Teachers. This is Allison with the Schedulicity Hot Tip of the Week. Nervous to declare yourself a master of a new yoga niche? Schedulicity makes it easy to try it out. Edit your business listing and feature your new focus prominently. You can talk about your training in your provider bio while introducing yourself and your expertise. Add classes, workshops, or one-on-one appointments that highlight your specialization. Then, spread the word to your clients and watch your new offerings fill up. You'll be surprised how many people can't wait to grow with you.
Thank you so much, Allison and Team Schedulicity. As I was saying, Amanda McKinney is a marketing coach for yoga teachers. She provides online courses and group coaching to help yoga teachers market themselves authentically so that they can earn a living doing what they love while staying aligned with their yoga. Let's dive in and meet Amanda. Oh, and just one other note, we did this interview live with some live questions from Connected Yoga Teachers. So you may hear the odd name threaded throughout our conversation, and that's why those are the people who showed up live. Welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast, Amanda. It's great to have you here today.
It's so good to be here. Thank you, Shannon, for having me.
I feel like we've been doing lots of chatting back and forth in the last few weeks, and I'm glad that our listeners get to meet you. So tell us, who is it that you work with, and what is the work that you do?
I love to say, and every time someone asks me this question of what do you do, everyone gets that question. And I get so excited because I get to say I am the luckiest person that I am a marketing coach for yoga teachers. And I love every minute of what I do. I was in the corporate world. I have lots of education in the marketing world, education and then experience from the corporate side, and left the corporate world, decided to do the marketing consulting thing, figure it out. And what we're talking about today is so perfect because and now here we go. Is it niche or niche? I think it can go either way. Some people have a preference one way or the other, but I did decide to focus down on yoga teachers, and it's been a great decision for me. And I love that I now get to help yoga teachers do that same narrowing down and really earn a living doing what they love.
That's amazing. I love how on your website right away it says something about being a business owner. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that and the story behind that?
Yes. So because I know marketing, I talk about it all the time. And I was just around a lot of yoga teachers in my local area. I currently live in Oklahoma and Tulsa. And so I was around all of my yoga teacher friends, and one of them said to me, Amanda, I never thought of myself as a business owner until you told me I was one. And I was like, what? You didn't think of yourself as a business owner. You're an independent contractor. You're a yoga teacher. And that is when the light bulb went off of so many yoga teachers are not told and informed that they are a business owner once they graduate with their yoga teacher training certificate. And you are an independent contractor, and you are creating this brand, this business, and anything from learning how to send an invoice to creating a brand is what I now work with yoga teachers on, because it's so foreign because it's not covered in yoga teacher training all the time.
Right. And this is where I think you have a really unique perspective, in that you were a marketer and now you're in a yoga teacher training.
Yes.
How's that
yes.
going? I know you just had a weekend of yoga teacher training.
I did. And I only have a few more. So 3 more weekends, and you are looking at a new yoga teacher. So I will have walked the path that my clients and students walk, which I think is the best way to get to know your target audience, dream student, whatever we want to call them today. And that's really what I'm doing, and learning so much, because I've practiced yoga for a long time. But as you know, there's a huge difference between practicing yoga and going to yoga teacher training. There's a big time span in there, and a lot of information. So I am often on information overload after these weekends, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's so true. And I feel like after my yoga teacher training, I thought, how does anyone do this? I thought, oh, yeah, I'll be a yoga teacher. And so we started learning all about teaching. That's a whole other element.
So much. The anatomy, I was like, I'm back in college. I needed flashcards. I don't know. Like, I was out of practice of learning something like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited that we get to talk about niching down, and that you already shared. You decided to niche down. I say niche. Lots of other people say niche.
Yes.
So just so you know, you just say whatever is comfortable, whatever comes to mind. But I want to know, there are yoga teachers out there. Well, first of all, let me address some of the things that yoga teachers will say. Sometimes people say to me, oh, well, why do I need a yoga niche? It's all yoga.
Mm-hmm. Right. And on that same line, I usually get, but yoga is for everyone. And that is true. I will never, ever, ever say that that is not true. And so I want to just come right out of the gate and say that yoga is for everyone. And that actually makes the point of niching down more important. Because if yoga is for everyone, then that means you have enough people to come to your class, even if it's really specific, because yoga is for everyone. And I mean, it's just like specialized doctors is kind of like something that I think about when I'm making the explanation of focusing in. If I have a problem with my foot, I'm going to go to a foot doctor very specifically, because they know what I need. It's going to be a quicker answer, and it's just this specialized thing. And I know that we yogis don't like to talk about money so much, but it's important to note that I would pay for a specialist for my foot, just like someone would pay probably a little bit more for a specialized yoga teacher.
I think that's so true. And it's easy maybe for us to even see your example where you said you are a marketer and you decided to niche down to the yoga world. Because you could have said, I'm a marketer for all small business owners. But then...
Oh, I tried that. I am the person who was preaching and teaching people to narrow their focus and really get specific. And it hit me like a door in the face that I wasn't doing it myself. And the moment I did, my business changed in a tremendous way. And I wish that I could get that point across in even better words than I have found to say.
Right. And so is it enough for a yoga teacher to say, well, I mainly teach restorative yoga, so that's my niche, or I'm a children's yoga teacher, or are we looking for something even more specific than that?
I think that's a great place to start. Just like, because you end up with a niche within a niche. I mean, I can even tell you, like, there are certain yoga teachers that I work with even just a little bit better because of where they are in their yoga teacher journey versus all yoga teachers. So if a yoga teacher says, I teach mainly restorative or children's yoga, then start there. Start there. Absolutely. Even if you have other classes on the schedule. I've listened to so many of your podcasts, and I really love when you ask about what their schedule is, different yoga teachers, and talking about what their schedule is and the different jobs they have, and if they have a side gig, all those things. I think that there's a really long time frame in which you can transition from teaching everything under the sun, saying yes to all classes, to when you are only teaching the thing that you are passionate about. There's a lot of in between that happens. And so if someone says, I love children's yoga, and that's what I want to focus on, they may have different classes when they're starting. And then they phase those classes out. And by the time they're niched down to only children's yoga, there might even be a smaller set within children's yoga. It might be special needs children. Right. By the time they get down to that end. So, and it evolves just like our yoga journey as just practicing yoga, it evolves. We focus on different, asanas or different poses that we're focused on. And then as teachers, we, create sequences that have themes and that evolves as you continue to teach too.
Oh, that's such a good example. And so what do you think are the roadblocks? Like you and I are making this sound like, oh yeah, this is the thing, but it's not that easy. And there are some things that really hold us back. Like I remember leading a gentle yoga class and I called it Yoga for Everybody because I wanted everyone to come to my class. And my numbers were okay. Like they built over time. But the moment I niched down and called it like yoga for hips and shoulders, then all of a sudden it was gentle yoga for hips and shoulders. All of a sudden my numbers went up. And then when I niched down even more, my numbers went up again. But there were some roadblocks in there that slowed me down. Do you want to talk about what those are and why and how we deal with them?
Absolutely. First and foremost, it's the mindset, which as yogis, we know that is such a roadblock for so many things. And just getting past that mindset of, I don't want to exclude everyone. That's really what it comes down to. There's a lot of different ways to say, I don't want to exclude anyone. But that, in my experience of coaching so many yoga teachers, that's what it comes down to, is the yoga heart is just so sweet and wants to help everyone and everyone for free. Like, let's get down to that too, is we just want to help. But when you can get past that mindset of, I will actually help more people if I'm specific, I will help them. And if you can get there in your mindset and just say like, okay, and even if it's okay, I'm willing to try it. I've worked with some yoga teachers that I'm like, just try it. Just try it. Because if you start posting on social media or telling people, even just telling students what you want to focus on and just gauge that reaction. And every time they've tried it, they said, you were right, Amanda. Oh my gosh, people responded great. And it's because people love something really specific. They can put it into a box. A lot of people like to be able to say, she does this or he does that very, very specifically, because just like me starting out my business saying, I'm a marketing consultant, that just did not work out. It doesn't help. And no one knew what I did. Now, when I say I'm a marketing coach for yoga teachers, people know exactly what I'm doing.
Yes.
They know exactly who I'm working with and maybe not exactly what I'm helping them with without asking a few more questions, but they're curious, which is magic. When you can have that, pique that curiosity just a little bit. So getting through that mindset is the toughest part for sure.
There was something that you said in that where you talked about, it's the referral piece of it, I think is really key, where people think, oh yeah, like I know in my area, Becky Thorne is a children's yoga teacher. And every time someone says, I'm looking for someone to teach this children's class, I always think of her first. Oh,
right.
Yeah, that would be Becky. That's her niche. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that she doesn't She doesn't only teach children. She also teaches adults, but that's her specialty.
And it really does work that way. It is truly, truly, truly incredible. And I use myself as an example. And I like to joke that because I have permission, I don't have to ask anyone permission to share my example. And so for me specifically, when I went from saying I'm a marketing consultant to I'm a marketing coach for yoga teachers, immediately, every time that I talk to someone and say that, they say, "Oh, my friend Kelly's a yoga teacher. I should tell her about you." And I say, "Yes, you should." And the conversation then starts and I get to meet Kelly. And so it's immediate where someone can say, "Oh, I'm going to introduce you to so-and-so, or I'm going to refer you to so-and-so." So it's so impactful for a yoga teacher because there's a lot of yoga teachers. Like, I haven't been to a city yet that's like, we don't have any yoga teachers. Like, the bigger cities you go to, the more you have. And so that has created almost this sense of competition in an industry that doesn't even like to talk about competition because we're all in this together and we're sharing yoga. But it creates this sense of competition, which as soon as you narrow down and focus on one particular thing, it takes away that competition and you get to collaborate with other yoga teachers. Like, you can put on a workshop with multiple yoga teachers doing different things, and it's incredible. Like, the transformation is huge just by making that shift.
That's so true. And so the other thing I hear from yoga teachers is they say, well, how am I supposed to know what my niche is? Like, how do I pick it? And do you have any words of wisdom for that?
Yes. So that is when I think about the roadblocks that are there in this journey of, narrowing your focus down. The one is mindset, and the two is, well, now I'm ready. How do I do that? And because we are talking all about this process and all the things you can do, I won't go through all the questions. I will post them later. I can post them in the comments in the Facebook group. I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to put it behind a wall that you have to give me your email address for. But I do have on my website, on the very first page, there is a free guide on how to do that. There's specific questions. And if I could remember them off the top of my head right now, I would rattle them off. But of course I can't. But I have some questions, very specific questions that I have asked enough yoga teachers, ask those questions that they were able to declare their niche after these questions. And I ask a lot. And so if you get your answer with the first one, you don't have to answer the rest of them. But a lot of people will have to answer multiple just to feel more comfortable with making that declaration of, I'm going to work with children, and just being confident in what that is, because it's so scary. And I get it. I was there as a business owner myself. And you really think, like, once you get the idea of I'm a business owner, you have a different hat on, right? And you're thinking about revenue and all these things. And it's scary to think, I'm going to take away. It feels like you're going to take away opportunities for yourself. But in actuality, you gain so many more.
Yeah, that's true. It is worth looking at that mindset. It takes a little bit of time. I think also we graduate from a general 200-hour YTT, most of us, and then we can make choices from there. What training would we like to take next? How would we like to specialize? If we're going to read books or do any more learning beyond our 200-hour, which I think every yoga teacher does.
Right.
Like, even choosing that, it's like coming out of high school and then choosing what do you want to be when you grow up. Valeria says, Amanda, how do you identify the topics that clients want to hear about if you host a yoga-focused blog on your site?
That is such a great question. Content. All I can say. And you have a podcast coming up about content. Do you want to talk about that really quick before I jump down my answer?
Connected yoga teachers, I'm popping in here for a moment because the content episode that Amanda is referring to is now ready for you. It is episode 107 with Abby Herman of Right Solutions. When Amanda and I recorded this interview, I had been telling her about my amazing interview with Abby, and it wasn't out yet. Now you don't have to wait. That interview is ready for you to listen to at theconnectedyogateacher.com/107. And we have heard from many of you that you are really liking this episode, returning to it, taking notes. I'm super excited that that resource is there for you. And what's so interesting is one key point of this is she said, your content cannot be watered down too much. You can't have too many areas or zones of genius, because then you're not really speaking to a specific audience. They just think, well, what does she know about everything? You can't know about everything. It's like It needs to be niched down, even your content. So
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's helpful.
It does. And I speak to it. Sometimes this lands well for some yoga teachers and sometimes not. I like to help yoga teachers identify 2 to 4 content pillars is what I like to say is like, what is your message? Like if you have your niche up here, okay, I am focused on children's yoga. I feel like we're really focusing in on children's yoga today, but it's such a great example. Or yours, pelvic health, that is your thing. And so I have this exercise where I go through and say, okay, what do you typically answer questions on in class? What are you getting questions about? What are these commonalities? And if you can just write until you can't think of anything else, you can generally, it doesn't seem like it's possible, but overwhelmingly you can get it down into 2 to 4 buckets of generalized content pillars is what I like to call them. Like you get this bucket of, okay, when I talk about this thing, I'm trying to come up with examples for pelvic health, and I have nothing because that is not what I know.
Well, let's look at something else. Let's ask some of our people that are here live. What are the questions? So we ask, what are the questions they are getting asked?
Yes.
And what are they excited to answer? Or what do they feel like they're knowledgeable about?
And what do they find? One question that I love to get yoga teachers to answer is what their answer is for when they say they're a yoga teacher and the person that they're saying that to says, oh, I'm just not flexible. Because we all know that's what people say. I'm just not flexible. And their answer to that really gets the content, the gate is open, because whatever their answer is to that question is likely what they're passionate about. Okay. Because there's so much yoga, right? But usually someone picks up on meditation or a specific type of asana. The list goes on, but whatever their answer is to that question is usually what they're super passionate about.
Oh, I really like this. So if someone said to us, well, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible, then our response, which usually is pretty wait a second.
Yes.
This is not what yoga is. Yoga is this. Then that's usually there. Oh, that's a good one.
I hope that answered. I would say get those content pillars of even what you think they are today. What you think you talk about, just pick 2 things that you focus on a lot. And Shannon and I both follow Steph Crowder, and she has this idea of picking a theme, which I think is brilliant in terms of blogging, podcasting, anything like that. Pick a theme for the month, and any content that you talk about in that month, have it be under that theme. So for me, January, I talked a lot about Instagram. I get more questions about Instagram than anything else. There's so many other ways you can market yourself as a yoga teacher, but holy moly, do I get more questions on Instagram. And so Instagram was the theme, but can you imagine the amount of content I could talk about Instagram? I mean, I have posting, images as well as text, and then stories and highlights and all the other things you can talk about with Instagram. So I had a lot of content under that umbrella. So I would say really get clear on just a few topics that you talk about often with your yoga students, or what you're passionate about, and then just map out 4 blogs and see how that feels. And then however you promote your blog, if it's on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, whatever it is, see which ones start getting more engagement. And that's your audience telling you what they want more of.
Right.
So then you
this is
take
so
it from
good.
there.
Oh, that's good. And I like how you specified too that we have this piece of content and then we're just sort of using the other platforms to push it out there and get it out there. That's great. Sue asks, if I am marketing a retreat in September, how soon do I start putting the info out there to market it?
I love this question. And before probably last week, I would have had a slightly different answer, but I like my answer better now. And it's because I don't know if everyone or anyone on here follows the Stoked Yogi. Her name is Amelia Travis, and she hosts retreats specifically for paddleboard yoga. And she's brilliant. She is not only is she just a phenomenal yoga teacher, she has now become a friend of mine. She's super, super sweet. So connect with her. And she posted something the other day that I was like, oh my gosh, that is so genius. Because while I have a ton of event marketing experience, I personally have never hosted a yoga retreat. So I've hosted corporate events all around the world on a totally different scale. But a yoga retreat is a little bit new to me because I'm only now becoming a yoga teacher. So that's a little bit different. And what she said is that it's determined by the price point. And I wish I had, I'm going to look at my phone really quick because I took a picture of this and to see what she said exactly, because it was so smart. She said, for every $500 that the retreat is, you need 90 days lead time. So it's a very specific tactic. And I was like, that is really smart. Because if you think about the amount that you're asking them to pay for a retreat, then you have to think ahead to budget for that. And I liked what she said about it, gave it numbers. For every $500, give it 90 days.
I like that too. I like how there's such a formula.
I love formulas too. So that was very exciting for me. And I'm glad I got to plug that. And that it just happened last week that she said that. And I thought it was just genius. And now I am saying she said in September. So you've got a few months. So that's good. But you can always start promoting it a little bit early. And if it feels too early, so let's say the retreat is not, you only need 90 days. So you're only looking at 3 months out and you're not quite there yet. You can always tease it. That is my favorite thing to do for marketing because it works like a charm every time. If you want someone to sign up on the day that you launch or open anything, you have to tease it. You have to, or no one will know.
So a great example of this is a friend of mine, Christine, who's in the UK and she's leading a retreat, just posted some images of where she's hosting the retreat. Like it's on her Instagram story. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I want to go.
Yes.
So amazing.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Sue had said, what is too early? I feel like there isn't a too early on this.
I think if you're promoting it, I would be a little strategic when you open registration for a retreat. I don't think, like you said, Shannon, I don't think it's ever too early to talk about it. I really think you could be, if you think about like a wedding, people get save the dates a year out, right? You've got to get it on your calendar. So I don't think that there's too early. But I do very much believe that you should be a little more strategic with when you open it for registrations because you want to give a sense of urgency when you open it. So if it's just always open, it's really, really hard. I say this because I've been on the event side so much. If you just have it open, you're constantly chasing registrations, constantly. So it's very, very hard to not get down in the dumps with yourself when things aren't going great, because there are always going to be ups and downs of a registration cycle.
So what do we do, Amanda, if we feel really passionate about our offering, we've niched down and we still feel like we're not getting the response back? What are some of the marketing tools that we can use? Like, how do we get word out there? And what does marketing even mean as a yoga teacher?
That's the magic question, right? What does marketing mean? Most people, as soon as I say the word marketing, they think social media, which social media is absolutely a tactic of marketing, but there's so much more than that. Number one is word of mouth. There's not one yoga teacher I've ever talked to that did not say word of mouth was number one for anything that they've ever done. It's pretty amazing how that works. And so to bring it back to the question of how to, when you feel like something is low, registration, people aren't coming to class, but you know that's what your passion is, I would say it's usually the messaging, or you don't have enough people seeing your message. So there's two things there. So if your audience is really low, then 9 times out of 10, you're just not getting enough people to see your message. So for that, then you would want to see how there's any way for you to get your message in front of more people. So using the idea of word of mouth, that's just, it's so simple. It sounds so simple when I say this, but this usually happens. I'll talk to any yoga teacher and I'll say, well, did you invite people to your class? And they say no. So I want you to tell everyone you can about your classes and just get more comfortable doing that. So when you tell someone, you meet someone in the grocery store and they ask what you're doing, or what do you do? And you say you're a yoga teacher. I want you to finish that sentence. I am a yoga teacher for fill in the blank. I think yoga for grief, that just got me. That was so powerful, so sweet. And I don't know anyone who couldn't benefit from that. It could be grief from so many things, grief and loss, that sort of thing. So I think if you just said that, again, they're going to know who to refer you to. Someone may have just passed away in their family, or they have a friend. And especially if it's a friend, like I can just imagine if I had a yoga teacher friend that was specialized with grief or loss, and then I had a friend go through that, I would buy her or him a private session with that yoga teacher. Like that would be the best gift I think I could give to someone. But I don't know that if you don't invite me to buy it. So inviting people, word of mouth, and just telling anyone and everyone who will listen to you what you're doing, because people like to help people. So usually they'll tell someone else about it. And then if you have a large audience and you feel like you have enough people that that you have invited to the party, but no one's showing up, that is usually messaging. So that's when you have to look at it. And it really helps for me, specifically for me and anyone who I have coached. It usually takes walking away from it for maybe a night, like going to sleep, waking back up the next morning and putting the researcher hat on. Because if something's not working, if people aren't coming to your class, if someone's not buying your online course, whatever it is, it gets personal really, really fast. So be okay. You can cry on the bathroom floor for 20 minutes and then I need you to get up and come back to it with a fresh pair of eyes. That's the researcher, taking the personal side out, putting the researcher hat on and figuring out what's going wrong. And this happens to everyone. I mean, for everyone listening, Shannon and I are going back and forth over Instagram this past week talking about this specific thing. So it doesn't go away. You have to always think about your messaging because it's really hard when you're close to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Thank you.
I will add one more thing. I don't know if this will make the podcast or not, but I will add one more thing to that specifically, because I can tell you to, look at your messaging and you're like, okay, great. Now what, right? I don't know what to do. I'm reading it. It sounds fine to me. Put your messaging in front of someone else, ideally someone who you think would buy or come to your class, buy your online course, whatever it is, and ask for their opinion. Because for me, for the longest time on my website, I said something about being a business owner, something like that. I have to phrase things very, very differently now because yoga teachers, I cannot assume that they think of themselves as a business owner until I tell them that they are. So I can't lead with that, but I can put it later. And I never would have known that had I not had enough yoga teachers look at my stuff. So just being open to having someone else, ideally the person that you think would come to class, and just show it to them. Hey, do you like this Instagram post? What does this make you think of?
Yeah, that's
And
really
then use
important.
their words.
Yeah, it's so true. The wording of how we put something together can really impact if we've and you also touched on, well, you also brought in the most important is that we're inviting people and telling people.
Mm-hmm.
So often we're not, as yoga teachers, telling people about it.
It's so true. I use the example of a party all day long, and I'll never stop using it because it really hits home. And it's like, you can have the best decorations, the best food, house smells great. But if you don't invite people to the party, you are enjoying that by yourself.
Right.
Like, there's no one that's going to show up.
That's so true. Oh, that's so good. Amanda, what do we do if we can't decide? If we have maybe 2 or more really good niche ideas, how do we pick?
Great question. And it happens to everyone. So, first and foremost, know that you are not on your own. You are not on an island with that. We all actually have a lot of ideas in our head. And so, whether it's ideas within a niche or you're trying to figure out what your niche is, it doesn't matter. I would challenge you to really, and this is a funny technique, but it really works. Like, it really works. Write down digestive health or whatever it is on a piece of paper. Put it on the floor. Write down headache sufferers or whatever the other thing is and put it on the floor. Stand on that piece of paper and talk to yourself as if that is your niche and identify how that feels for you. Then go to the other piece of paper, stand on it, and talk to yourself as if that is your niche and see how you feel. And usually you'll have a pull towards one or the other. I will also say it doesn't mean you can't pick up the other one later, but focusing on one is going to save your sanity. So pick one, knowing that if you do great, not if, when you do awesome at that one thing, it's going to open the door to do the other one.
This is so good. I feel like I wish I would have known this about a month ago because I continue to niche down still. And that would have really, that's a good one to stand on a piece of paper. And so do you
It sounds weird, but it's awesome. I've done it and it really can clarify things.
Yeah. Well, I think yoga teachers are used to doing maybe quote unquote, not like out of the ordinary things.
True.
So
Very
I
true.
think we're fine with that. And so then also, what if we are feeling like, who am I to pick this niche? Look at this other person who has this niche. Look at what they're doing. Who am I to do it?
Then I want you to message me so that I can send you a video saying, girl, you got this. You got this. You are you, and you are going to do amazing things. And there's no one else that can be you. It doesn't matter if someone else has that same exact niche and they're rocking and rolling. They're doing great and you're a little envious, because we need to admit sometimes we get envious and looking at that comparison trap, especially on Instagram. Let's be serious. And when we're there, it's really hard to not doubt ourselves. Again, I'm preaching to the choir right now. I mean, I have to think about this too. But knowing that there is absolutely no other one like you out there, that you will attract the people who will learn best from you. Just like there are other marketing coaches for yoga teachers. And so if you are listening to me and you're like, that girl has too much energy for me, I don't want to listen to her anymore, please tell me. I'll send you the links to all of the other ones that I know about, because there's more than just me out there. But I also know that people will like my personality, resonate with how I teach things. And if I believe and I'm confident in that, that means I get to help more people.
It's so true. And let's just share the example of you and I. So we both help and do work with yoga teachers. And here we are working together.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's maybe the part that niching down has given me anyway. niching down in my yoga, like when I decided I teach yoga for pelvic health, it's like I made all these really great friends in the pelvic health space.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
And
love
with
it.
you and I, it's like now we have this friendship and
Mhm.
I think, oh, that person needs to talk to Amanda. That's what she does. Yeah.
I think it's great. And I love that you brought that up and how we do have a lot of we're obviously serving the exact same audience and we have similar things that we do. You know, we both have the idea of group coaching and we have a lot of similar things. We talk about niching down all the time. You have a course on this, and I have this free PDF for this free guide on my website. And yet it still works how we can be friends and support each other. And it works. It works. And it's because there's a different personality, there's a different um, attraction of students that will come your way. And so to anyone who is doubting themselves, just believe in you. And if you don't believe in you, tell me so I can be your cheerleader and believe in you because you are awesome and no one else can do what you can do.
So often I hear from yoga teachers, oh, I want to do this thing, but I just need to take this training first, or I just need to get that 500 hour, or I just need to become a yoga therapist first, and then I can do that thing. And I think yoga teachers are ready to go right away into something. Like I'm still learning. You know, I've been teaching for over 13 years and I think, wow, I really don't know anything now. That's what it feels
Right.
like still. So there's not going to be this moment. I don't know any yoga teacher that thinks I know everything and there's no more learning to do.
Right.
If I did, I wouldn't go to their class.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as perfect. We're never going to be ready. You know, you hear that all the time. People will talk about, you know, having kids or getting married or what, you know, there's never the perfect time to have a kid. But yet people do it and have good kids, you know, and they still have a marriage and all these things. And so I use the example of myself again, because I don't have to ask for permission, of launching a website. First of all, it's never going to be perfect, never going to be ready. So just get it up and do the thing. You know, I help so many yoga teachers in thinking about, well, I'm creating this brand. Do I need a website? And I'm like, probably yes. And if that scares you, it can be one page. It can be one page and that's it. And you got this. And I sat at my desk. I'm pointing to it because you can't see it, but it's over there. And I remember sitting there believing in myself that I was going to start my own business, but I wanted to make the website perfect. And so the marketer in me wants to launch something, teasing it out, having a launch, all these things. But I knew in that moment, if I don't just launch this today, I'm never going to do it. And so I did it. And let me just tell you, my cell phone starts ringing, text messages going crazy. And I think, oh, my friends and family, because that's all I knew. I didn't have clients at that point. I had friends and family. I thought, oh, they're being so supportive. No, they were telling me about all the typos and broken links on my website.
That's good. That's good.
And I still have a successful business. So even with that, you know, there's never going to be perfect. Just do it, learn from it. And so I say go. That's great that everyone wants more certifications. I mean, I could go back to school and keep continuing my education in marketing, but you know what's really going to help me is experience and just doing it and helping more and more yoga teachers. And if I recognize along the way, oh, I should probably take a course in learning about X, Y, or Z, you know, then I can do that. But I don't suggest waiting. I'm with you. Like just jump and do it. I mean, if you need an extra license or certification to do something specific, please do that. Yeah. but most often it's the confidence, like believing that that's going to help you get there. And it's just not, you're probably more confident right now than you will be after you get the certification because you're going to think you need something else.
Yeah, it's so true. Kristen says, I'm having a hard time describing trauma-informed yoga in a way that makes sense to other people. I've thought of healing or recovery, but I'm still afraid they mean different things to other people. I'm going to let you answer.
Hard.
Yeah. This
Words
one.
are hard. So for that, it's interesting. This is something I'm going to give you my opinion on this. But what I really want you to do is to start talking to people and see which word specifically lands better for people. And so for me, when I read this, and it may be because of where I am getting my yoga certification right now, is a trauma informed school. And I think personally, trauma informed is more descriptive than healing or recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you nailed it. Kristen was saying that they mean different things to different people. Now, trauma in and of itself has a lot of different legs that can just spout out from that, and mean different things to different people. Trauma could be, everyone has trauma because we were born, right? Like that is traumatic. And so we all were born, but it could be so many things that could be traumatic to someone. But I would suggest talking to people and seeing which word lands better with them, which one makes them a little more curious, or, with people that you know and trust. I would say, what does it feel like when I say this phrase to you? What do you think about? And see what their reaction is. And whichever one is true to what you teach, that's what you should go with.
Yeah, I think it's also great to look outside of the yoga teacher world because we get so used to different language and someone else might have no idea. And until you keep describing, someone said to me, "Oh, you really have it pinned down when you talk about the beginning of your podcast, what it is." I'm like, that took about 100 episodes to keep saying the thing and then keep explaining to people what it is that I'm doing.
The more you can say it, the clearer it's going to be. Just like you just said, 100 episodes of a podcast, and you're finally feeling like you've got your rhythm. And I say all the time, when I first started, I said marketing consultant, and immediately people's eyes glaze over when I said marketing consultant. And I thought, and there was a time that I turned to my biz bestie and I said, I never want to say that again. I need to say something else.
Right. Oh, this is such a good point.
And so I tried marketing strategist, which was worse. And then, finally got to the marketing coach for yoga teachers, which is now it's perfect. But I would have never, ever, ever, ever landed there if I didn't say marketing consultant and marketing strategist and all of these things for a long time. I mean, I'm on, working on year 2 here.
Yeah.
I'm saying the wrong thing before I finally found, oh, this is it.
This is the thing. Oh, I like that. I think also that we can choose a niche and it slowly morphs into something else, slowly changes. And I think it's a process. How long do you think it takes, Amanda, if we are leaving our yoga teacher training and, in my experience, we're saying yes to all kinds of classes and styles and trying to see what we like? How long do you think it takes to develop a niche or to find our niche?
I think it's one of those it depends answer, which no one likes when you say that. But I think first and foremost, I was actually interviewing one of my friends very recently, and she said something that I want to take and hold and communicate this, that when you are a brand new yoga teacher, or even just trying to figure it out, maybe you've been a yoga teacher for a while, but are just now really stepping into this idea of teaching and trying to figure it out, saying yes to a lot of different things takes courage. So I want to just salute you and tell you that that's awesome that you are saying yes to things, because they're probably out of your comfort zone, and that is how you're going to learn. So kudos to you for doing it, for saying yes. And then once you start saying yes, I like to teach yoga teachers who haven't niched down yet and say, I want you to have this lens. I want you to look through this lens when you're teaching the class. Does it light you up? Are you enjoying the time? Were you excited? Did you want to sign up to sub it again? All of these things will, and if you didn't, that's great information too, because knowing what you don't like is just as important as knowing what you like. And so I suggest just keeping a journal, keeping just a tally of, I taught this power vinyasa class and I didn't like it. But I taught restorative and thought it was great and really wanted to teach it again. I walked away thinking about a theme for my next class. When you find yourself doing that more often and figuring it out, you will naturally just know, okay, I know what I want to do, because you will just know that answer really stinks. And I'm aware of just knowing like kind of stinks, but your intuition is going to say, I've said yes enough. I'm not saying yes anymore. I know exactly what I want to do. And I'm going to start saying no, which is a very exciting place to be.
Yes. And sometimes scary.
Yes.
At the beginning. I love how you brought this in. And it actually, I was thinking, wow, what would it have been like if I had this knowledge coming out of my 200 hour? Because I came out of 200 hour being like, I'm going to teach all the things. Like literally in one day, I would teach hot yoga, restorative yoga, prenatal yoga, baby and me yoga, and children's yoga. Yeah.
That's a lot, Shannon. That's a lot.
It didn't work very well. I was saying
No.
yes to everything all the time. I can tell you the one to drop off the list first was toddler and me yoga. Another little thing that you could do is take all of the hats that you wear as a yoga teacher, like all of the things that you love to teach, put them on sticky notes and start to take them away. Okay, if I had to take one of these away, what would it be?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good one. I like that exercise for sure.
But when you get down to the very end, this is sort of borrowed from the Clockwork book by Mike Michalowicz. He has a different one. It has to do with generating profit. And that's important too, but
yes, it is.
But we do know that when we define something that we're really passionate about, like the niche part of it, then the profit will follow as well. So what he says is take one away, and then when you have two left, you choose one that you'll go towards instead of taking one away.
That is beautiful. I like that.
I feel like all yoga teachers now will be like standing on a piece of paper or putting sticky notes all over. Yeah. Good. Hi again, Connected Yoga teachers, popping in here to share that during the live call, a few of our yoga teachers said that niching down has been a challenge. Amanda had an amazing reply, so I wanted to make sure we added it in here and you heard it.
Because it is so, so hard. And it really taps into so much of the mindset. And I'm so really like blessed that I get to work with yoga teachers because we can talk about the mindset, and it's a little easier to talk about mindset with yoga teachers than it is like a corporate president or a CEO, that's a little bit harder. And so if you can get through that mindset and just decide to try, then it gets a little easier, but it is challenging. And there's always going to be challenges. As soon as you recognize, oh my gosh, I'm running a business, then you can start reading all those business books that help with the mindset of running a business. Mm-hmm. And because you are, Shannon, you use this word. I actually, interestingly enough, have not seen it land very well with yoga teachers with the word entrepreneur.
Yes.
So you are an entrepreneur. And I actually didn't even think of myself as one when I started my business, because for some reason in my brain, I thought entrepreneur was like, well, I didn't create an app. Like I was thinking it was all about technology. And so I didn't even consider myself an entrepreneur when I first started. But it absolutely, like, you are going on this journey and you are blazing a new trail.
There's one reason why I use business owner, small business, and I talk about profit and I talk about entrepreneurs, is because I really want to push away the yoga teachers who want to teach as a hobby or who don't see it as a profit thing. Like they're not my ideal audience. Some of them might choose to. I know. That's what like, if you can say things or you start to tick people off and they say, I don't like this, you're like,
yeah.
Yes.
I say that a lot. I'm like, if you can, attracting the right person to work with you is important, but repelling the others is just as important. And it feels uncomfortable, especially as a yoga teacher, because we don't want to repel anyone, right? But it makes everything so great. Like if you could have a room full of people who will sing your praises as a yoga teacher, like that is your dream class, right? So call them in. let's call those people in, and the other people don't have to listen to whatever else to whatever you're teaching. And it's really, I love that you just said what you just said, because it was perfect.
Yeah. But it can be challenging. And I know we want to help everyone.
Yes.
But if we are not helping that person, that's okay. There'll be someone else that will help them.
Yes.
Enough.
As long as everyone niches down, there'll be someone to help everyone.
That's right. So, Amanda, I want to ask you, what is the work that you are most excited about right now? What's something that you're really working on for yoga teachers? And tell us about that, and tell us where we can find out more about it.
Awesome. You can always find me on my website, which is ammarketing.co. It is .co, not .com. It always throws people off, but hang in there with me. Maybe one day I'll have the .com. But you get creative, so I can help you do that too. And so you can go there, and I do have a free guide for niching down, and please get it, download it. And then you'll be on my email list, which I send weekly emails. And one thing that I do really specifically in my emails, because I know your email inbox is so precious, is I do share a content prompt for the week. And it's the only place I do it. So I actually don't post that on social media or anything else, but I do have a content prompt that I put in my emails every week. And the most exciting thing I have right now, I'm super pumped about this, because I believe in working in a group and how much further we can go faster when we have a group supporting us. And so I am opening group coaching for the first time that I've done this with yoga teachers online. So I've had some groups in person. They've gone really, really well. And I've coached a lot of people one-on-one, but I'm really excited about this. And this is basically the first time I'm mentioning it outside of my circle of people in the local area. So you're the first ones to know. So if you're interested, send me a message somehow. So either on Instagram, on Facebook, tell Shannon, she'll get it to me. Because there is a page on my website, which you can sign up and click the button and get on that email, that specific email chain. But it's like, you can't purchase it right now. It's not even open. This is like super secret. So the idea is that it would be 8 weeks where we meet once a week, and I will do, and it's only for 5 or 6 people, first 5 or 6 people that say yes, like, you're in. And then I will also do, in addition to the weekly calls, we will have a private Facebook group where we check in at the beginning of the week, end of the week, and I'll also be doing one-on-one calls with each person. So you will get my individual attention, but you'll also get the weekly content with each other.
That's amazing. I'm so excited for that. We started
Me
doing
too.
group coaching, and I was just telling Amanda, like, this is something that's really needed. It's making a big difference, and it's yoga teachers forming, tight-knit communities across the globe, and offering support to each other. It's so good. Thank you for that.
It's so important. Oh, thank you for letting me invite your audience to this. I'm super excited, because if you listen to Shannon and you're learning from Shannon, then you are the person that I want to work with, because you have just cultivated such a beautiful audience that it just felt like a natural fit before I even offer it up to my broader audience.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. That was such a lot of information for us all to take in. I'm so curious, connected yoga teachers, what were your key takeaways? What are you thinking? I'm going to try that one thing in my business. Just be careful not to try and do everything at once. Try one thing at a time, try it on until it feels comfortable, and then go back to something else. One of my key takeaways is I love how what Amanda shared today about having 2 to 4 content pillars really ties in with what we heard from Abby Herman in episode 107. And I'm also working on my own business here, taking a course with Abby Herman. And so this was more of a light bulb moment for me in the last few months. And I also have to say, it wasn't easy just to come up with 4 main topics that I'm going to talk about. And Abby allowed me to add in a 5th for just miscellaneous and personal life stuff, because I like to share with all of you on my Instagram stories, on Facebook, and here on the podcast. And one thing I want to add into this content piece, those content topics that you talk about, and I'm telling you from my own experience, they need to connect with what you offer, what you sell in your business, which makes complete sense. For example, if you're leading a restorative retreat and you want to get more students to that retreat, you want to have a content pillar that relates to that. And you can be super creative with how you tell people about it, how you tell them about restorative yoga. But check, because I was starting to see this pattern where I was offering content that didn't relate back to my offering. So I wonder if you'll see that in the next few months in my own content. This is why it is so great to have someone look at your business from an outside perspective. So that's what I realized when I was working with Abby Herman and when I've been collaborating with and talking with Amanda McKinney. And it really makes a difference when you have that sort of accountability piece. People are asking you good questions, checking in on how your business is doing. And that's why I'm so excited to let you know that Amanda and I are offering this 3-day challenge where we look at your marketing specific to filling your yoga classes. So this is a 3-day challenge to fill your yoga classes. And the link to that is in the show notes. If you go to theconnectedyogateacher.com/112, you'll see more information about that. And then, as I said, Amanda and I are opening up a group program for only 6 yoga teachers. So we really want to dive in with 6 people, and we'll both be there coaching on what I know from years of experience as a yoga teacher, marketing from Amanda, and it is going to be a power offering. I'm so excited about that. This group program will give you access to both Amanda and I for 6 weeks while we focus in on your yoga business. We'll have a private Facebook group, weekly calls, emails. It is going to be packed, and you need to be ready to show up and do the work each and every week. Another key takeaway that I had from this episode is this real tangible math equation thanks to Amelia Travis of Stoked Yogi. Thank you so much, Amelia. I will make sure to link to Amelia's website in our show notes. And Amanda passed this on, this price point. For every $500, you need 90 days of lead time. This is brilliant. Oftentimes, yoga teachers will say, well, when do I need to start advertising? That gives you a math equation right there. Thank you to Robin, who left a review for us about our Facebook group. So again, if you're not in our Facebook group, come and join. And this is why. Robin says, Shannon, I just wanted to take a quick moment to say how much I enjoy this group. The knowledge, professionalism, cohesive group of people that genuinely enjoy lifting others up and sharing is exactly what this kind of group should represent. Thank you so much, Robin. It's great to hear from you, and I love getting reviews, and I try and read each and every one on the podcast. I also want to take a moment to thank my team, Samantha, Suzanne, Crunch, and Cindy, for doing so much behind the scenes to make the podcast possible. Also to you, dear listener, I love hanging out with you every single week between the classes, workshops, trainings that you are leading or attending. Your time means so much. Your support means so much. And I just want to say a huge thank you for doing the work that you're doing out there. Okay, connected yoga teachers, it's time for me to sign off. What will you be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can share the yoga that lights you up?